What's up, everyone? Welcome back in December 23rd. Happy holidays out there.
Merry Christmas.
What was it?
Merry Christmas.
And happy holidays to all of you out there who don't celebrate Christmas, but if you're celebrating something else, if you're not celebrating anything, either way, enjoy the time, family and friends.
What day is it today?
December 23rd. I just said that. You didn't
Happy
listen
December
to me.
23rd if you don't celebrate Christmas or the holidays.
I don't know. Where are you going with this one?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Just Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, or Happy 23rd. Let's get into it.
Happy 23rd. Well, I want to hear if either of you two have any fun plans this week since we celebrate Christmas. So you guys doing anything?
Yeah. Well, tomorrow's my birthday.
Oh, my God. How did I know? I'm a terrible friend. I didn't even know that. Jeez.
But we're hosting the Farina family
Bang.
Christmas bash every year.
It's a big family, by the way. Big Italian
We
family.
got 25 people coming,
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be fun.
What are you guys making?
We do like the whole 7 fishes thing.
Oh, man.
I'm also grilling like 9 pounds of steak tomorrow. So
Ooh, I'll be there.
you
I didn't
can
get the
come.
invite, but I'll be there.
We have, we got a lot of steak, a lot of fish,
All the steak.
a lot of pasta.
Ooh.
We do this pod together and we don't even get the invite.
It's okay.
Feels bad, man.
What are you doing, Phil?
Just going to the in-laws.
Love that.
Yep. Megan's aunt and uncle have a bar in their basement, so we're going to go there, try a
Oh.
bunch of their different bourbon and whiskey.
That'll work.
Drive
Ooh.
safe.
Which one would I rather do? Would I rather go and eat a butt ton of steak or drink a butt ton of alcohol?
Why not both?
Can I do both those together?
I have bourbon and whiskey.
Do you have steak?
No.
Okay.
Ooh,
well,
I just threw a bunch
he
away.
wins.
There you go. But anyone out there, wish Fireside Dave a happy birthday tomorrow. It only happens one in every 365 days, so it's a special day.
Very true. All right, so let's hop straight into the transfers. Dave, I know you said there's not too much going on. There's one big one, but let us know.
Yeah. There's like 2 big ones. I would say the first big one is Alexander Isak. No surprise, is the most transferred in player. Him and Mo Salah are probably the 2 most informed players in the Premier League right now.
Yep.
So lots of people hopping off Mr. Cunha and Holland and some others to get over to him. I think like if you can get Isak on your team, I think you kind of have to.
I did.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for you. Well, not really, because I'm trying to beat you and I also have him. But some other interesting transfer-ins. Gabriel Jesus getting transferred in. Started the last game for Arsenal. Played really well. Luis Diaz, James Maddison, Morgan Rogers playing well for Aston Villa. Mo Salah, the bane of my existence, is getting transferred in.
So good.
Just keeps
scoring.
Only 65% of players have him, man. Those other 35%, I don't know what the heck they're working with.
My week was going so well until he tapped in 2 goals in 5 minutes. But
That's what
Plus
he
2
do.
assists.
That's what he do.
Aina for Nottingham Forest scored this week. All the Forest defenders continue to be
so good.
pretty solid options.
It's such a fun team to watch. They're
Wow.
Just their story
Unless you have
all around.
Wood, because he somehow doesn't manage to score anymore. But that's okay.
I feel so bad for you.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you
Just
do.
so-
boohoo.
Sure you
Just
do.
so terrible. I just want to mention like Luis Diaz getting transferred in. Like I know he performed really well in the last game. I still have some questions about playing time with the Liverpool attackers, especially now that Diogo Jota's back. So just keep that in mind if you're considering him. I think he's a pretty good option, but I don't think we can be certain about who's going to get the minutes there for Liverpool. I know Sean has some more thoughts on Luis Diaz, but I'll save that as a surprise for later.
You're an angel.
But the transfer outs, Erling Haaland still getting moved out. No surprise there. City still stinks, which is a joy for everyone
Except Phil.
except Phil.
Well, you have De Bruyne.
I guess that's true.
A couple of the Brighton guys, Denny Welbeck, João Pedro, make the transfer out list this week. The popular options for them have gone a bit dry the last few games. My boy Kaoru Mitoma included there, so hopefully they can turn it around. Chris Wood made the transfer outs this week. Sorry, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting a lot of good chances. He's just not putting them in. He had a really good header that the goalie made an amazing save on in that game. So he's still knocking on the door, though. I'm not giving up on Wood.
I think like 80% of his moves out are for Isak or Jesus. So
I'm sure. Yeah.
But yeah, the one person I skipped over who's the most transferred out player and he got hurt was Bukayo Saka.
Sad.
And so I think, looking at some of the guys that he's getting transferred out for, it's a pretty evenly distributed. Some Luis Diaz, some Bruno Fernandes, some Crystal Palace's new superstar, Ismaila Sarr.
Wild.
But I just... So, we definitely want to talk about, who do you guys... I have Bukayo Saka, so I'm still figuring out what I want to do.
I also have him.
I don't.
And so I think there's probably a lot of people out there that are in this boat. But at first, when this happened, my first thought was, oh, this is... Because I felt like there was, one too many mouths to feed in that Arsenal attack.
Yep.
Gabriel Martinelli wasn't getting consistent minutes. Obviously, Gabriel Jesus was hurt for a long time. So now that Saka's out, I think all of the Arsenal attacking players become a little bit more interesting. I know a lot of people were kind of on Martin Odegaard since he came back from his injury 5 or 6 weeks ago. I think he's a little bit more valuable now.
Set pieces, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one, yeah.
He might take over penalties with
Probably,
Saka
I think
out.
he would.
I think he would too.
Because he had already handed one off when he came back from injury. Remember, Saka gave him one?
Yeah, but that could have been a, hey, welcome back kind of gift.
Fair enough.
Does Havertz take
I don't-
PKs?
I don't think so. I'd have to check into that last year.
I don't remember him.
I don't
feel like
think
on
so.
Chelsea,
On Leverkusen
on Chelsea
either.
he was a big PK taker, right? Or am I making that up?
I couldn't.
No, I don't
can't
remember that
speak to
far back. I'm very old, Phil. But
It's okay.
I think Gabriel Martinelli becomes more interesting. I'm interested to see who they start on the right-hand side now. Not sure who that's going to be, what formation they play. If they play 4-3-3, I feel like he uses Havertz in the midfield sometimes. So I feel like a Rice, Odegaard, Havertz midfield might be what he goes with.
Pretty good.
But just monitor what Arsenal does going forward, because I think with Saka pretty much started and played most of every game, I think all their attacking players get a little bit of a boost with this, just because they'll get some more playing time.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I'm picking one of those, this is just a total guess from just today. I think Havertz probably gets the best jump because I think Havertz has the best chance of producing on offense. I think Odegaard and Martinelli are both great players. They're not as good as Saka, I don't think. I don't think they'll produce the same way. Whereas Havertz, if he now gets a little more opportunity, we know what he can do. So, but I think it also depends on, is he going to play mid now?
Yeah.
So that's a huge part of what Havertz is going to get.
Difficulties over here.
Yeah, right?
Sorry.
I think, I can see Havertz, his minutes becoming, they're pretty consistent at the start of the season, but he could play either forward or he'll probably start in the midfield sometimes.
My point is he interests me the most of the guys. That's who I'm interested in if I'm looking at them.
I think we kind of talked about Liverpool in a similar fashion weeks ago when we were wondering who's that second guy behind Salah. Is it Gakpo? Is it Luis Diaz? Is it Chiesa whenever, if he's ever going to play? I think he's played a bit, or Jota. So it's I feel like Arsenal's the same situation where you had the stud in Saka. Now that he's hurt, they have a bunch of options, and I think there's going to be luck in if you go this early into an all-in into a guy, there's going to be luck in terms of if you get it right or wrong. Mm-hmm. So I've been in this monitoring mode where for the next 2-3 weeks I'm going to see what Arteta does with the team and who becomes that kind of new.
Depending on how long Saka's out, though. Hamstrings can go anywhere from 4 weeks to 12 weeks. Fair enough.
I guess. That's the other thing.
You never. Again, it could be maybe he doesn't handle the injury well, so it could be a long time. But he may literally be back in 4 weeks.
Yeah. Also keep in mind the next 3 games are in a span of 9 days for them. So he's probably going to rotate the squad anyway. So we might not get this answer until after the international break in early January.
Yeah.
So
fair point.
But anyway, so that's kind of just the Arsenal attack in general. But I know Sean has Saka, I have Saka. So Sean, if you had a choice, who are you looking at to replace Bukayo Saka with? Because I think a lot of people are doing this.
It's a good question. So I took it from my own team perspective, right? So when I'm talking about this, it's coming from what I have available to me. So what I did is I sold Saka, right? I can't hold him for multiple weeks as an injury. He's too expensive. And I also sold Strand Larson, who I have on my team, who hasn't been performing. With that money, I went and got Isak, best player in FPL right now, him and Salah, so went and got him. But I had 7.6 million left over. That gives you a lot of options at midfield. So the three guys that I felt were the best options, Maddison, 7.6 million, Mbuemo, 7.6 million, and Luis Diaz, 7.4 million. I also looked at Bowen. He was interesting, but for me, he'd basically be a 1 week rental because they have Southampton this week, but then they get Liverpool and Man City. I need points now. That's my situation. I have to have points now. I can't afford to put him in and have him just throw up nothing. So that's why I didn't look at Bowen. I don't like the schedule there. So when I was looking at it, I landed on Maddison. Of those three guys, that's who I like the most. Now, he has 27 points over his last 4 games. That's 5th amongst all midfielders, so it's behind Salah and Palmer, of course. Those guys are fantastic. And then it's behind guys like Sarr and Murphy, right? Sarr, we know, had 2 goals, 1 assist 2 games ago, which is the majority of his 28 points. So he's still very much an unknown. Again, I need points now. I can't afford unknowns. He is cheap, but I went against him or Murphy. I'll talk about Murphy in a little bit. So one of my concerns with a guy like Maddison, though, shot production. So he isn't producing a lot of shots since week 8. Palmer has produced 35 shots, 14 on net. Bruno produced 32 and 10. Salah 36 and 16. Maddison's produced 13 shots and 8 on target since week 8. So that's not a lot. And his attempted assists are 13. Palmer's got 24, Bruno 32, Salah 16. Now, those guys are a step above, we would agree, right?
Yeah.
They're more expensive. They're a step above. So I don't expect him to be on par with them, but he's pretty far away. Same could be said about Mbuemo, though. So Mbuemo has 12 shots, 8 on target, 16 attempts. So Maddison and Mbuemo, for me, they're very, very comparable. So, you got to dig a little deeper to figure out who you want. Maddison has 6 goals on 13 shots, so he's scoring 46% of the time. And Mbuemo has 4 goals on 12 shots. He's only scoring 33% of the time, right? So as I'm digging in, I'm trying to find these little differences. And then I said Luis Diaz as well, right? You called this out a long time ago, but his name is nice. He's on a great team, but he's not performing, especially since week 8. 2 goals on 16 shots, 11 attempted assists. Schedule-wise, Liverpool has the best schedule, but you said it too. I don't like the minutes. I don't trust the minutes.
Just don't know.
Even like we said, the next 3 games for everybody are kind of in quick succession, so there's going to be some rotation. But even after that, like especially with Diogo Jota healthy, like he started pretty consistently at the beginning of the year. So like who's going to start on the left? I mean, Cody Gakpo's been playing pretty well. So do you really trust that Diaz is going to start most of the time going forward yet?
And not at that price.
Yeah, I don't.
Right.
He might, but...
So, I know the first thing people are going to say when they hear that I just said that is, well, Sean, Maddison doesn't get 90 minutes. True. Maddison does not get 90 minutes a game the entire season. He basically is averaging, I want to say, between 55 and 65 minutes for the season. So, yeah, agreed. Same as Diaz. I don't trust him with minutes, but I like his schedule more than I like Mbuemo's. And I trust Maddison more with less minutes than I trust Diaz. Plus, the big thing for me here is differential. I'm trying to get points that these two aren't getting. I'm trying to get points that everyone out in the world isn't getting. Maddison's own 9.5%, Mbuemo 28.5%, Diaz 16.5%. Now, let me take it outside my team for 1 second. I'll ask you guys this same thing.
All right.
You got those 3 players, Mbuemo, Maddison, Diaz. If I'm ranking them, being unbiased, away from my own team and my own wants, I'm going Mbuemo.
Is this FPL?
FPL, yeah. I'm going Mbuemo. He may get less points than Maddison, but you have a guaranteed 90 minutes every game. He's the safest option.
PKs too.
Maddison, I think, has the most potential, but his minutes are not at 90. But in the last 8 weeks, he has been overperforming big time.
And Tottenham, sometimes good, sometimes shit.
Yes. Luis Diaz, I think, has the worst of both worlds there. He's not getting the minutes, and he's not producing as much as people would like. So that's why I would go.
But he's on the best team.
He is on the best team. What is your ranking? What would you go?
I'd go with none of them, but if I had to pick...
If you had to pick one.
I think you have to go with Mbuemo just for the set piece sake of it, where any PK is probably going to get the goal off of it, where
all right,
with Maddison you don't get that. But, yeah.
I think mine are in the same order as you, Sean. I think I would go Mbuemo. I know their schedule isn't quite as good. I am not like overly concerned about it. Obviously, you don't love the Arsenal fixture, but like their next 3 games before the international break, the other 2 are Brighton and Southampton, and Brighton hasn't been as good as they were earlier in the season lately. So, like that's 2 of the 3 matchups are good. Then it's Man City. Is that really like all that bad?
No, not,
and
not
then
right
Liverpool.
now.
So it's not that great. But yeah, I think my concern with Maddison is that he is way overperforming his XFPL since week 8. He's like overperforming it by like 20 points.
He is. He absolutely is.
Like him and Mbuemo, like both have similar like shots in terms of shots they've taken, shots on target. There's not a big difference in their expected goals. But I think like the appeal of Maddison, the argument for him is that Spurs attack is just like so good right now that a lot of their pieces look attractive. And that's going to be kind of the argument I use when I talk about 2 more of their guys. But I think I would lean Mbuemo over Maddison, and then I would have Diaz third. I don't think the gap between them is, the 3 of them is very large though.
No. Yeah, and to your point, Maddison's expected involvement over the last 4 is only 1.66. Yeah. So like you said, he's not getting these outrageous numbers, but he is producing with the minutes and the chances he's getting. And that's probably just form. And I need points now, so that's why I'm taking that chance. That's where I'm at with it. But yeah, I think we all probably agree out there if you're listening. Probably of those 3, Mbuemo, Diaz, Maddison, Mbuemo's the safest. Maddison probably has close to the same upside. Diaz is probably at the bottom for me. So yeah, that's what I want. That's what I did with my team. So Phil, did you want to talk about, I think you mentioned you wanted to talk about Cunha now that we're kind of, no?
Well, I want to talk about another guy that plays for Spurs, and that's Dejan Kulusevski. And so, like, we've been talking a lot about minutes and, like, who is going to get consistent minutes and who isn't. And, like, Maddison's minutes have been a little, not
wonky. Not
what you want to see for someone that you're paying that much money for.
Yep.
Brennan Johnson's minutes have been a little bit better, but Kulusevski's minutes have been really good pretty much the entire season. Like he started every game but 2, and those are the only 2 games where he hasn't played at least 60 minutes. So if he starts, he's going to hit that 60-minute mark. But yeah, my argument is that he's going to be in their lineup. He's been really good lately, along with everyone else from Spurs. And he's the cheapest of kind of their front 4 or 5 guys. He's cheaper than Johnson, Maddison, and obviously cheaper than Son. So, like I said, I think I want a piece of the Spurs attack, and he's one of the guys I'm considering. Again, he's overperforming his expected numbers by a little bit, but again, like similar with Maddison, I'm not overly concerned about that. So if you want a cheaper piece of that attack, he's definitely somebody I would look at.
I mean, they are overperforming on the season. It's not massive, but yeah, in the last 3 games, they're both Madison's over by 13 points and Kulusevski's over by 10 points. So yeah, I mean, it's this run of play like you said, but Tottenham's just feeling it, man. So
I mean, but it's Tottenham, right?
Yeah.
Would we be having this conversation if they didn't get those late goals when they're already down?
But
5-1.
Did.
I know, but they could be down 3-0, and it wouldn't have happened because Liverpool would have locked in.
Maybe.
So I think it goes back to what we've said about Tottenham all year, where it's 1 week they're amazing, the next week they're crap, so there's not a level of consistency. But if you're calling out a cheaper option that allows you to upgrade to a more consistent player in another position, then he's definitely worth the look because you can get some good returns from him.
You can clear price. Like if you're replacing Saka with him, you can clear $4 million
exactly,
and then go
get Isak, for example.
Yeah, if you need to get rid of one of the cheaper forwards to get Isak, you can do that. So I
almost think we're at a point right now, which is crazy, that you could put out a really, really, really good team and just not have spent all your money. Like I could have not got Maddison and got a much cheaper option and just have $3 million sitting. I have Palmer, I have Salah, I have Isak, I have Wood. Like I have all these. I have Gabriel. Like I have these.
Use like Diallo or Enzo Fernandez.
I think we're at a point where the most expensive guys, like Son, is not performing. Haaland is not performing. Saka just got hurt. These top tier guys, like you don't really need them right now, so you don't have to overspend.
Yeah, I mean, I think for your forwards, the ideal three right now outside of Cunha's ban would have been Cunha, Jackson, and Isak, for example, right?
Yep.
And
probably.
over the next three matches, obviously we hate City right now and their players for FPL, but in real life too. But if Haaland comes back, it's Haaland, Isak, and Jackson. Those are the three best options.
Yeah,
so
Haaland's not coming back.
I mean, if he doesn't come back these three fixtures, then every City asset should be dropped.
Truth.
Like they couldn't have an easier schedule.
But no, I agree with that. He's gonna score goals again at some point.
You guys have been saying that for 7 weeks.
It's gonna be like a wait.
You picked up De Bruyne 2 weeks ago. What are you talking about?
I picked up De Bruyne for a totally different reason than the reason people are holding Haaland. People are holding Haaland hoping he scores. No one expects De Bruyne to be the best midfielder in the game.
You're paying them up.
Yeah, I paid the money, and I got the return one of those weeks.
You shouldn't have been,
but I did. So it is what it is.
Didn't deserve it, Sean.
Okay, it doesn't matter what I deserve. He got the points.
But I do, since Phil, you mentioned Cunha earlier. I do want to talk about because we mentioned last week because Wolves' schedule turns a little bit sour, and like he's gonna get suspended whenever they figure out what the heck they want to do. There's another forward that I also have, which is good for me, Ollie Watkins, who has hit a bit of a downturn. And so, like you just said, I think Ollie Watkins hasn't started each of the last 3 games. So like even when early in the year I was like, oh, I'm going to stick with Ollie Watkins. I believe in him. All of his underlying numbers are great. If he's not going to start, I think I feel pretty differently. And so I think it'd be good to talk about some guys to change up your forward line because I think the options up there might not be as great as the options in midfield. I think, in my opinion, if you don't have Isak, like we said earlier, go get him if you have Ollie Watkins. I think Nico Jackson is the other pretty obvious pivot from Watkins if you don't have him. So those are definitely the 2 favorite options in my opinion. But I don't know how you guys feel about this whole John Duran guy taking over for the starting role for Villa.
Mm-hmm.
He just keeps on scoring. He started the last 3 games. And so I was looking at what his expected numbers were since he started 3 games ago, and they're good. And then I looked at Ollie Watkins' numbers for his last 3 games that he started, and they're good. And so we've been saying all year how Ollie's underlying stats are nice. And I think it's just whoever is going to start up front for them, regardless of like whether Villa's playing well or not, like is probably going to get chances.
Yeah.
And so, like, am I sure that they're going to keep starting Duran over Ollie Watkins? I don't know. I can definitely envision a scenario where Ollie Watkins takes the starting job back. He could even start their next game, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I think I'm okay with taking a shot at John Duran if you want to save some money. And here's why. Because he's 5.8 million. He's obviously pretty low owned still. But if you look at the other guys, he's 5.8. So the other guys in that price range are like Evan Nielsen, João Pedro, Jamie Vardy, Liam Delap has gone super cold. Strand Larson. Would you obviously take any of those guys over John Duran right now?
Nope.
There's no slam dunks there.
No chance.
We mentioned Raul Jimenez last week as somebody we liked, but we also said, just keep in mind, like Muniz is probably going to start a game, or he's going to sub on for him. So of course Muniz starts the first game. Yeah. So like none of those guys, I'm like I would definitely take over John Duran. And so if you take that shot that he does keep starting and it doesn't work, like they just go back to Watkins. I just listed a whole bunch of easy pivots at the same price point. So.
Yeah,
that's one of the guys that I think you could use as a pivot. He's closer in price to Cunha as well.
I think just to play devil's advocate, obviously we've been talking about guys that aren't getting full 90s this whole time. It's that time of the year, I think, where things start getting mixed up. But the thing with Villa is that's like a mid-sized club, and they are doing pretty well in the Champions League. Mm-hmm. So, I start to wonder. I mean, they're going to be rotating constantly. I just feel like there's no way to know who's going to get the minutes in EPL. Right. Like, are they going to say, oh, Duran's on fire. Let's play him in Champions League. Let's start him. and then they'll bring him in off the bench in EPL games. So that's a tough one. I mean, like you said, he's played 57 minutes, 73 minutes, 79 minutes. So it is slowly creeping up in his last 3 games. So it's one of those ones, man. It's like a lot of these players we're talking about. You just got to wait and see how it plays out.
I think they want to use obviously they want to use both of them, because even when Watkins was starting earlier in the year, Duran has played. He played in every game.
Yes.
Like, Watkins hasn't played. He doesn't always come on for Watkins, but Duran does get minutes every game.
Yep.
So, like we said before, we might not get this answer until after the international break, but I think it's a good 3 weeks to take a swing at it, especially since you're getting another wild card here in a week. He's a guy I like. I also like one more Spurs guy, and that's Dominic Solanke. A little bit
I don't
more
know about him. I don't know about him.
Let's hear Dave out. Let's hear the story.
Well, so I do like him, and I have both Cunha and Watkins.
So suck it.
So I have to do something.
You do.
I can't roll with both of them. And so he's 7.5 million. He's top 5 on the season in expected goals with just over 8, which is good. The rest of his attacking stats, there's nothing that like sticks out that is a big cause for concern. But again, this is like the same argument that we made for Maddison, that we made for Kulusevski. The Spurs attack is just really good right now. They might not be able to stop like the 3 of us and Sean's neighbors from scoring, but they can score goals. And so, and he pretty much plays 90 minutes or close to it every time out. So he's one of my favorite options. Nothing groundbreaking there, but he's not super expensive. He's 9% owned. I would probably expect that to go up a little bit. But
sure, it's already going up.
He's definitely somebody I'm considering, since, like I said, I've got 2 forwards that I don't really want anymore.
Yeah.
But what are your concerns, Philip?
I just think it's the inconsistency we've seen with the Spurs.
Like, I think
again,
it's Spurs you're out on.
You have Southampton and then Liverpool, where they're normally not going to get those late goals. Liverpool was up, I don't know, that was it 5-1 or 6-1?
5 or 6-1,
when they scored 2 out of the 3 goals. So, like, right now they look hot, and I guess they came off of losing 4-3 against Chelsea. But before that, you had all those weeks where even when Tottenham was scoring, he wasn't really that involved. So for 7.5, I guess if you're really tight on a budget, he's obviously a strong option to consider. I'm not saying that, but I don't think he's like a top. Like, how much is Isak right now? Is it 8.4?
No, it's
8.9. That's a lot more. So 1.4 million more.
1.4 million more. But, like...
Yeah, like we said at the start, like, if you can get Isak or Nico Jackson, like, those are the 2.
I mean, and,
number 1 options.
Wood's still out there at 6.3. I think him and Solanke are probably pretty comparable. So there are cheaper options in Solanke, so I hear you on that.
And who is on PKs for Tottenham? And I know there's a Tottenham fan out there listening to us. Leave it in the comments. But, like, who would take the PKs for them? Is it Maddison?
I don't remember the last time they got one.
I think it's James Maddison.
Yeah. Hey!
Well...
when he's in. He's not always in.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
It's either Maddison or Son.
Well, that was one of my arguments against Son to replace Saka, like, compared to Bruno, because those were my top 2 kind of suggestions. Is Son isn't on PKs that often. It's like you lose that set piece value compared to other players.
Assuming that's what you are Googling.
So in the Europa League, this is just what I have here. Son had one against Roma, and then that was November 28th, October 24th for Charleston. Had one. That's crazy.
Because they just don't get PKs.
He had one against some Dutch team, I think. I don't remember the name of.
I'm pretty sure he took some for Brazil.
I mean, that's what I'm seeing filtered by season. Like I said, I don't remember them getting a whole lot of PKs recently, but I don't know if this is literally telling me this is all they've had this year, but
I mean,
doesn't sound like they have a guy that's like, this is the guy that's always taking him.
And I didn't mean to downplay Solanke. For that price, I mean, if you compare him to like Mateta, who's 7.2, like, you would never go with Mateta over Solanke. So, yeah, for that price range where it's just slightly above Cunha, on that offense, he's definitely a really good look.
This says Son and Maddison, by the way. This says Son or Maddison seem to be the two guys.
That's what I thought it was, yeah.
So there you go.
But no, it was good because that's like different ways of processing Spurs right now.
Yeah,
because like a lot, like Kulusevski was not somebody people were considering earlier in the season that much. Solanke was kind of in and out of lineups, but it's like, how do you view what Spurs is doing lately? I view it as like kind of chaos and open games, like Chelsea kind of was at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that just creates, there's going to be opportunities, whether that's, quote unquote garbage time or
And you'll take it.
or they're killing somebody, which I'll take for their attacking players.
Yeah. I think if you're picking up Tottenham guys, you're okay with taking some risk. You're not here to play it as safe as you possibly can, because these guys could do well or they could do terrible. You just don't know.
And with Solanke, there's a little less risk because he doesn't get punished if they give up 6 goals.
Right. As a striker, as a forward, yeah. Fair enough.
Honestly, it's kind of funny. We talked about Spurs being this chaotic team. I feel like any Man United asset is in the same boat right now.
Truth.
They can be the best option possible, and then they lose back-to-back games at home against teams they should be beating. So,
fair points.
Yeah, let's not talk about Man United.
Yeah,
I got another guy I want to bring up.
One more note on Tottenham. Son.
Absolutely not. I was talking.
Tough luck. I came in first this week. We've been back and forth on Son, and I think he would be the ideal replacement for Saka if he was on set pieces consistently.
I don't know,
that's and I think that's the problem with him is you look at other players that are like Bruno Fernandes, you're going to get returns from that. Son's expected involvement is like 6.14 over the last 8 weeks in terms of goals and assists, which is pretty high. Again, I think he would be the ideal guy if he was that center focus of Spurs attack, and since he's not, I think he's just too risky. But I've been seeing a lot of people like talk about Son as a guy they're picking up, and I just think there's probably better and cheaper options.
He's only 5.7% owned, which is wild.
Well, people aren't going to start.
No, I'm just saying. Think about that. He's the least owned player on offense. We've talked about 3 guys, and they're all owned more than him.
I think Brennan Johnson
That's
is even
crazy.
I'm curious to see by the end of the week, though, because people haven't moved on transfers just yet.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go to this guy. I'll just put it out there immediately. This is absolutely a risk pick. Totally, betting the farm here. But I want to talk about Jacob Murphy as a very dangerous, cheap option if you're trying to be very different and get points where maybe no one else is going to get them. He is absolutely on fire in his last 3 games. He has 33 points. He leads all midfielders in these last 3 weeks. Salah's second with 26. And what's pretty crazy about it, he's only played 189 out of the 270 minutes possible. So, he has 3 goals on 9 shots. He's shooting 100% when it's on target. He has 3 goals on 3 shots. So, is he going to keep it up? No. Right? I think we can all probably agree, no, he's not going to keep this up. But Newcastle looks really good in their last 3 games, and I still think he may be able to get you some value at the price point. But if it's me, right, I didn't pick him up, but if I was picking him up, I would wait 2, maybe 3 weeks. They have Villa, they have Man U, they have Tottenham. If Newcastle continues to look good, if he continues to get minutes and look good, then they get Wolves, Bournemouth, and Southampton.
Yeah.
So my thought process here is let him play against Villa and let him play against Man U. If he looks still relevant, I'll probably pick him up at still a probably cheap price point and then have him for those 3 games. He's owned by only 1.5% of teams. So he's a big differential factor, like I said. Schedule's decent, not great these next 3, but then it gets really good. He is one of those guys that if you're really trying to be different, there he is. Same with Sarr, who we talked about last week. Another guy who, what do we have? No idea.
I trust Ismaila Sarr way more than Jacob Murphy.
He gets more minutes, yeah.
I think Sarr he's like kind of driving that attack right now, and I think Eze is dinged up again.
Yeah.
But do you trust Crystal Palace more than you trust Newcastle?
Not necessarily, but I trust that Sarr is going to play a lot more minutes consistently.
I think Murphy's schedule is why I'm interested, because those 3, Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, that is nice. That's a nice schedule.
Villa and United,
I was going to say Tottenham. We just talked about Tottenham.
Those next 3 games aren't necessarily deterrents for me. So I feel like
tougher opponents for a guy that we don't know.
They're good teams, but like
Murphy might be terrible. We don't know. I mean, he was terrible up until this point.
I mean, I think he's that good differential player that you can get for cheap and have on rotation.
I think they're both options.
That's where I was going. Is if you're going to do this, I think you should do it now.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
I'm not going to. I mean, he's cheap. So he's only $4.9 million. If he's your 5th midfielder, then fine. But like, if you're going to do it, I wouldn't be deterred by these next 3 games, because Newcastle are playing well, and if he plays well in these next 3 games, and then you wait till after the international break, like a lot more people are going to pick him up for that Wolves matchup.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, if you're going to do it over the next 3 weeks and
go
for it.
What about this thought?
But I definitely would prefer Ismaila Sarr over him, and he's more expensive.
Think about this.
0.8 more.
Would you do this? Would you take Sarr right now? He gets Bournemouth and Southampton, and then drop him and insert Murphy if he's still playing well. That way you get a cheap guy for basically 6 weeks in a row.
I probably wouldn't.
You wouldn't. You would just hold on to Sarr.
I mean, if Sarr looks like crap the next 2 games somehow, but like if Sarr plays well or is just okay, like I don't think I'm gonna drop him for Jacob Murphy. It's just the playing time thing. Like Palace doesn't have any other options to play in those 2 number 10 spots other than Sarr and Eze I believe has an injury now.
All right.
But I think it's a great point, Sean. And like if you now's the time where people are going to be moving off. So many people are moving off of Saka. So many people are moving off of Cunha. He's that perfect guy that you can get returns from, and he's at the price point where you can use funds to really upgrade another position because you're saving 0.8 compared to the other budget guys like Semenyo. He almost falls like the Amad Diallo player where he's producing a lot for super cheap. Is that going to be consistent? Who knows? I think with Amad it is because he's an absolute stud. With Jacob Murphy, maybe not, but you're going to be able to upgrade another position.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You could get rid of Mbuemo and Saka and pick up Salah and Murphy if you don't have Salah right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
He gives you that.
Maybe I'll do
I would
that.
agree.
Maybe you'll do it. You should.
So we wanted to you wanted to get us, Phil, you wanted to do a quick just who do we think are the best captains on the week?
Yeah, it's even more than the week. I think just the general feel in FPL right now. It was Salah and Palmer for a while. At the beginning of the season, obviously, it was Haaland. Isak's kind of crept up in there. One funny thing is if you looked at captaincy statistics across all of FPL, Haaland's still the second highest guy that's being captained. If you look at the top 1,000 players, it's Salah like 84%, and then Palmer, Isak, Saka, and Haaland doesn't even fall under the top 4, which is expected.
At that level of the game, if you're that high, that's the differentiator.
That's the difference.
Captaincy is always
So
absolutely.
I'm not even looking at talking about fixtures anymore, and not just for my team in general. Like I don't think anyone should really be looking at fixtures for Salah. It doesn't matter what game he's going to produce. So I think he's Mr. Consistent right now. It's almost set that captain and bearing an injury or some massive differential you're going for. It's Salah. And then I think the real thing I want to get to is it's Isak or Palmer. Because Palmer, he's been incredible. He has a bunch of FPL points, but they are isolated to certain weeks. And he's had multiple weeks like that, so it's not just a one-time wonder, but he's had a lot of blanks. It's dependency on PKs.
A lot of it.
There's a couple weeks where he scored on his final touch before being subbed, and if the ball goes out of bounds a second earlier, we're talking about like 7 blanks in the last 9 games.
Mm-hmm.
Blanks.
We're calling if you captain him and he gets 3 points, we're calling that a blank.
Yeah, exactly.
You're disappointed in that.
No, he's not getting a return.
If you captain someone, you get above 6 points, you're pretty upset.
Yeah. So at this point, does Isak get that second spot in terms of captaincy where maybe if his matchup is so good, you go with Isak over Salah like last weekend? I'm pretty sure they're pretty even in terms of their points. Salah ended up getting more, I think, because of his last assist.
Yeah.
But I think Isak's taking over Palmer.
I would agree with that. Yeah. If you have Mo Salah, don't think about it. But Isak, like we just said, 5 of his next 6 games, I have no concerns about the attacking matchup for them. Like Villa, United, Spurs, Wolves. Bournemouth is the one that's, I think they're a pretty good defensive team, but then Southampton. So, yeah, I think I lean Isak over Palmer, but I mean, neither of them are a bad choice, but Isak's just been on fire.
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling me I have to pick one of them, I'm picking Isak. His run of play right now is just unbelievable. I'd rather take a chance on him, especially since he's a forward. I don't know. Like you said, Palmer is obviously an amazing player, but take away a couple PKs, take away a couple last-minute touches, we're probably really mad about how he's performed, frankly.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot of inconsistency there. So yeah, I mean, I think Salah's the obvious choice if you have him. After that, I think it's just Isak. If you don't have either of them, you're probably playing a matchup at that point. So
I think the way I kept summarizing it in my head was, you can captain Isak or Salah and not be mad at yourself with the outcome. Like if they have a stinker, you can't be upset that you captain him because they're both the top producers.
The process is right.
Yeah.
All right. Love that. Okay, quick section. Phil came up with a sweet section, a quick
it's
one.
The holidays.
To end this off. Phil loves the holidays.
It's the holidays. Let's go with who's been naughty and who's been nice.
Been naughty. So what we're going to do is who's been naughty and nice, which means up to this point on the season, we're each just going to pick one for each of those categories of someone we think's been naughty, someone we think's been nice to us in particular, right? Personally, yes. We know all these guys personally, so that's what we know. Just kidding. How they've been on FPL.
Sean, tell us, who's been naughty to you?
Who's been naughty to me? So I'm going to go with probably a very popular pick, Haaland. I don't have him anymore. I dropped him a while ago, but I had him for a long time, and he really annoyed me, and I had to drop him. I had to make a lot of moves, so I lost a couple weeks there with negative points. So he's the one for me that's just been naughty. He's just been such a letdown this season.
Cole for him.
Cole for him. I was like, what?
The person that's been naughty to me isn't even on my team. That's Mo Salah. Because you guys both have him,
twist.
And I'm trying to catch you two, and you just keep captaining him, and he keeps just having 2 goal involvements every game, and I'm just never going to catch him.
Maybe you should get him.
No.
He's come this far. He's come this far.
Don't
sell out. Don't sell out.
It's kind of like with me keeping Haaland. I've come this far. Like at this point, I know that if I drop him, he's going to get a hat trick. So I'm going to go with blanks for the rest of the year and just out of fear.
The second you drop Haaland, I'm doing everything I can to get him on my team. Everything.
I'm going to activate the curse. The guy that's been naughty for me, and this, I want to do analysis over this week because I've been thinking about it, is Raya, the goalie for Arsenal, because
he's been naughty to you?
He's been as many clean sheets as they get or about to get, he barely gets any saves, and he always lets up like 1 goal. And so he never gets the bonus points for 3 saves. I don't think he's ever gotten it for the 6 or 7 saves. So it's like it's extremely annoying to see him just give up 1 goal on like 3 shots and him never get that 3rd save. So week after week, he has such a high potential of getting that 6-point or 7-point, I guess, return, and he doesn't. So he's kind of been bugging me a bit.
All right,
I'm sorry to hear that, Phil.
It's okay.
Go to your nice. You got the mic. Go to your
Who's
nice.
been nice?
Mm-hmm.
It's been nice to you.
It's my King Murillo, center back for Nottingham Forest. I absolutely love that guy. He's so much fun to watch. He's an absolute tank. I don't know if you guys watched Ted Lasso.
Yes.
He reminds me of the center back. Yeah. You look at his build and you're like, is this guy a little chubby?
Does
he have extra weight on him? But obviously
just strong.
He's just strong, and I love him, Mr. Wall, because Murillo is Little Wall in Spanish. So he's the Wall. That's a cool nickname for him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Very nice.
Wall. Yeah, so he's on my nice list.
Love that. Dave?
I'm going to go, I mean, the obvious one's Isak, but I'm going to go Matt Sells.
Yeah.
I've had Matt Sells too.
Another Nottingham Forest guy.
Yeah.
He's been
good.
Consistent. He throws you a clean sheet pretty much every 3 games or so. Cheap. Yeah. Matt's been a nice surprise for me.
Love that. I love that Sanchez killed it for me this week. Told you guys. 9 points.
He got the bonus points at the end?
Mm-hmm.
For what?
I don't know, but he got 9. So here we are.
Standing around.
My guy who was nice is Chris Wood. He's the 4th highest scoring forward up to this point. I've had him the entire.
You just complained about him earlier in this video, so we're going to clip that.
Okay, go ahead. I mean, I complained about him recently, but we're talking over the course of 17 games, not 2. Over 17 games.
We're still clipping that.
He's been a very nice surprise for me, and he has got a lot of points where other people didn't. So I like Chris Wood. I think he's going to continue to be good.
Really, just Nottingham Forest has been kind to everyone.
Yeah. Is he the best player New Zealand's ever produced as a striker, or is this just one good 17-game run?
Who's that guy? Is he New Zealand, that guy who's
Australia. You're thinking of the really famous – who's a really famous Australian player, the striker?
Sam Kerr.
No, the one who had the diving header.
No, I'm thinking the volley in the World Cup.
It was a really famous Australian – we got to find it
We're gonna get yelled at. I know the diving header. I can picture it.
Before we sign off, we got to figure this out.
I said name in Australia soccer volley because I was like couldn't put words together. It's an embarrassing. Oh, Tim Cahill.
Cahill.
Yes, but he's Australia.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, New Zealand. I couldn't tell you a famous New Zealand player, so that's why I'm saying is Chris Wood one of their best. But it's also not been a whole career. It's kind of been this season we've really noticed him. So I don't know. If there's any New Zealand watchers out there, please rip us
and yell at us.
Rip us apart if he's like ranked 10 or 11 or 12, because I have no idea. Okay, great.
Mr. Wood gave you the wood.
Okay, that was okay. Mark that one now for kids. All right,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Merry Chrysler. I think that's it.
Muchas gracias a la ficción. Esto va para vosotros.
Well,
on that note,
is that it? Is there any more surprises?
No, that was it.
Dave, did you want to?
Let me just record what time that happens so everybody can stop the video before that happens.
Did you want to do a thing too, Dave? Or?
No, embarrass myself largely in front of the camera. I'm just kidding if I like that.
Alrighty then. That was great.
I got to throw Ronaldo some love.
Got to do it. All right. Well, with that, I mean, happy holidays, everyone. Like we said, enjoy your time this week. I hope everyone has a great week, and make sure to like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. All that is free, and we really appreciate it. You can listen to us anywhere you find podcasts.
Yes, you can.
We'll be back here, same time, same place.
Check our socials, Fireside FPL.
Looking back at week 18, looking forward to week 19. Like he said, check the socials, and good luck out there, everyone.
Get your lineup set on Christmas because the cutoff is 6 a.m. Boxing Day for U.S. Eastern Time.
Oh, yeah.
6 a.m. Boxing Time. There you go.
Good shout.
Call, Dave. Good call.
6 a.m. Boxing Time.
6 a.m. Boxing Time. And with that...
I can't wait to have some drinks and watch soccer all Boxing Day. I'm calling off for that.
Do it. And with that...
See ya.
Bye.